Hello and welcome. My name is Colin McLean, Product Specialist at Sassian, and I'm thrilled to be joining you today to give you a demonstration of Assure, our AI-powered, cloud-based software ensuring the online safety of hundreds of thousands of students in K-12 schools around the globe. In a world filled with change and fueled by endless advancements in technology, trends, and even language that often make their debut in children and students, the question is raised among educators, administrators, law enforcement, IT professionals, and parents on what actions schools are taking to ensure the online safety of their students. If left unchecked, these changes can produce a learning environment that is distracting, disorganized, and even hostile. So we've built a solution to these issues in addition to countless others. Our software has three value propositions: flexible cybersecurity controls for K-12 classrooms, advanced alerting of cyberbullying and self-harm, and easy reporting of student online activities. Before I dive into a demo, I'm going to spend a few minutes explaining our solution architecture. Sassian is an all-cloud solution hosted on AWS or Amazon Web Services, and it connects with and leverages data from a number of your existing school systems. The first connection I want to talk about is with your school's firewall. As powerful and sophisticated as they are, today's next-generation firewalls were never made for K-12 students and aren't able to cater to the fact that a 6-year-old student in year 1 needs a vastly different security protocol than a student in year 12 who is about to graduate. Via an API, Sassian gives schools a new layer of flexible cybersecurity controls for K-12, extending your existing firewall capabilities. We also receive logs sent directly from the firewall to provide alerting and online activity reporting. In addition to connecting with your firewall, we have an API to connect with your identity management that keeps users and groups up to date in Assure. We also have APIs for Google Workspace and Microsoft 365, which allows us to apply our AI to students' chats and emails to identify cyberbullying and self-harm. And finally, we have APIs for popular learning management systems like Canvas and Google Classrooms, which allow us to embed some of Assure's key functions in the teacher's tool of choice, giving them a seamless user experience. And perhaps the most important element of all this is we are entirely out of band, which means there's no need to install any sort of widgets, profiles, or configurations onto students' devices, so there's no negative impact on the user experience. Now we've established the value propositions for our high-level solution architecture, let's dive into a demo. When you log in, you're greeted with a beautiful dashboard filled with fully customizable widgets. In creating the dashboard, we wanted to make sure that it was customizable to ensure that users don't get overwhelmed and are provided with only the relevant content to them. To change your dashboard, simply select Customize. Here, you can not only choose from a number of different widgets to be displayed, but can also change the arrangement of these widgets by clicking and dragging, the same way you might do on your phone. Not only is the dashboard aesthetically pleasing, but it's also interactive and fully functional. If you see something that you'd like to look further into, simply interact with that content by clicking it, and you'll be taken to a more in-depth view of whatever it is you're wanting to investigate. This now brings us to our first value proposition, which is our advanced cybersecurity controls for K-12 classrooms. The first element of this involves our temporary rule overrides for your firewall. As a teacher, you might want to demonstrate a particular video or URL that may currently be blocked from the firewall. The temporary rule feature allows one to create a new rule and temporarily allow access to something without needing to involve IT. To create a new rule, simply select the temporary rule function from the dashboard. These can be used to quickly allow or block anything from applications to web categories or specific URLs. And because of our integration into your school's identity management, you'll see only the relevant groups for each user. So let's say you're a Year 8 science teacher and you want to grant temporary access to a YouTube video outlining some of the impacts of climate change. Simply select the relevant groups to apply this temporary rule to, select the Allow function since we're wanting to grant access, select URL from the rule scope, and input the corresponding link. Next, you'll enter the duration of the rule and provide a name for it. Once the rule is created, you can see that it is immediately active on the firewall with no downtime after creating the rule, and will disappear as soon as the duration for this temporary rule has lapsed. Our next element of cybersecurity controls involves the ability to create a more sophisticated or specified rule. From the Rules menu item, simply select Add a Rule, and choose from either indefinite or temporary rules, whether or not you want to allow or block something, and whether or not you want a recurring rule. Again, you can see all relevant groups for a user that are listed below, and you also have access to creating rules for specific individuals. So, for example, if you have a few students in class who are frequently distracted or off topic, an individual rule can be made for them. In addition to the integration with your school's identity management, we also incorporate your school's schedule. So we can create a recurring rule that will activate during a specific period or a specific class. For this demonstration, let's go off of the previous example of a Year 8 science teacher who's teaching that class on Monday and Wednesday in period 1. A recurring rule can be created to reflect this schedule by simply entering the days and the period that we want this rule to take place. Now, let's also say you not only want students to be able to access that specific video, but another link to a website perhaps like the Bureau of Meteorology outlining the existing climate in Australia. You can list several URLs or web categories that you want a student to have access to all at once. You can also see this powerful feature for classroom management and student engagement, where you have the power to block everything else on the internet for selected users. Once all the information for the rule has been completed, simply give it a name, click Save, and you'll see this is instantly active on your school's firewall with a nice, Assure-specific rule name. Our third and final component of cybersecurity controls is the integration with existing learning management systems. We know that teachers rely on these various learning management platforms for access to their lesson plans, links, assignments, and much more, and wanted the ability for a teacher to simply create a rule from within their workbook. Here, you can see an example of the Sassian Assure extension embedded right into Canvas, allowing easy access to create that rule. Now, before we move to our advanced alerting and reporting, I want to outline the foundations behind how this is done and what information is used. The first is web categories, which applies to web searches, websites visited, and videos watched. These categories come directly off the existing firewalls in place and require no further setup. Within the Web Categories menu item, a user can create further refinement for the rating of these categories. In a minute, we'll go into what a report actually looks like, but in that report, you'll see a user's overall web rating, which is coming from the ratings outlined here. You can also define whether or not something will actually be reported to ensure that reports are providing only the content that's relevant to you. Lastly, you have the ability to specify whether or not you want a category to be available to the rules that are created, which is a great example of the flexible cybersecurity controls we just talked about. As an administrator, this is an added layer of control to safeguard students and ensure that a rule isn't created allowing something that you never want to allow. For example, if under no circumstances do you want a teacher to create a rule allowing access to websites in the adult category, you can ensure that no rules can be created for this specific category. To change any of this information, simply select the edit icon to the right of the screen and make the necessary adjustments. The next key foundation for our alerting and reporting are the words and phrases and their corresponding classifications. In contrast to categories, classifications apply to searches, chats and emails, and social posts, which provide more specific context pertaining to the content within or underneath the more broad web category. Here, you have the ability to define the classification of expressions and terms used across all platforms, as well as adding in new classifications and words and phrases as they emerge, in addition to the full local dictionary provided by Assure on startup. Another great piece of this is our crowdsourcing dictionary, which unites the entire Assure community across the globe, allowing for new words and phrases to be shared. So essentially, rather than trying to come up with a full list of phrases and constantly updating this on your own, you can simply navigate to the crowdsourcing dictionary and import or reject an individual word or phrase, or do a mass import or reject of all. Beyond our local and crowdsourced words and phrases, we have two levels of AI functions designed to identify concerning online behaviors. The first is a fuzzy logic near-term analysis, which is an AI function that identifies misspellings of words in the event of an intentional or accidental misspelling, which basically means you don't have to add all the variations of words and spellings to your words and phrases dictionary. Our AI will simply do the work for you. And the second is an NLP, or natural language processing engine, which looks for phrases where individual words seem to be safe. However, the combination of these words indicates potentially concerning context or evidence of cyberbullying. So, having explained some of the foundations for how we're enabling advanced alerting of cyberbullying and self-harm with our categories, classifications, words and phrases dictionary, and multiple levels of AI, let me show you how to set up an alert. These alerts are fully customizable to ensure that the right alert is going to the right person at the right time. This allows for proper delegation of admin and users within Assure so that IT personnel or administrators don't have to receive alerts that may be best suited for teachers or school counselors. Just like the rules function, you'll see all relevant groups and the ability to create alerts for these groups or even individual users. You can select any number of categories or classifications and have the ability to specify whether or not you want to receive an immediate notification or if you're happy to receive alerts compiled in your daily well-being alert email. Just remember, the category alerts are generated by searches, websites visited, and videos watched, where our classification alerts are searches, video titles, chats and email found within Google and Microsoft 365, and social posts. When you receive an alert email, it's compiled in a clean, sophisticated layout that resembles a memo handed to you in person. This outlines a summary of users found within an alert and the corresponding classifications and categories. Below this, you're provided with actionable next steps sorted into either high or low priority alerts. In high priority alerts, you have the classification that triggered the alert, the users involved, the period during which the alert occurred, the platform the alert came from, and lastly, the ability to investigate further. Below this, you have low priority alerts based on the established prioritization that contains items like searches and even the frequency. When selecting the Investigate button from your email, this will take you to the actual alert found within Assure, and a powerful tool to display the context that stemmed from that alert, which in this case is the chat history on either side of the message triggering that alert. You even have the ability to export this into a PDF to have a follow-up conversation. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the importance of students' privacy and remind you that Assure is only leveraging the data already being collected by your existing systems. We're only capturing and reporting what's already on your school's network. What we're doing here is maintaining the information in a way that's easily accessible, reportable, and linked to real-time alerts so that you can be proactive instead of trying to put the pieces together after an incident may have occurred. The same way student well-being is maintained while students are outside playing during lunch, you'd expect there'd be an adult to supervise and ensure that students are being safe and reasonable. If a student is exhibiting unsafe or inappropriate behavior, a teacher would intervene. So if we have ways of ensuring physical student safety and well-being, why would digital safety be any less important when we know the consequences can be just as, if not more severe? Having demonstrated our flexible cybersecurity controls and advanced alerting, this brings us to the final value proposition of Assure, which is the easy reporting of student online activity and the ability to look further. Assure has powerful built-in querying and reporting functions that are easy to use for anyone, not just highly skilled IT personnel. Within the Reports menu item, you have the ability to search for a user and bring up usage data for a specific period of time, which could be a really powerful tool for well-being professionals, leading up to an academic review, performance conversation, or routine check-in with a student. Or even on a scheduled basis if you have a watch list of individuals to look out for. This provides excellent insight of well-being and safety and a brief overview of a user's web activity, web rating, and the ability to navigate through multiple categories for a more in-depth view. Here, you can see a user's web activity, their activity in relation to their peers, and an entire list of websites visited, as well as whether or not the site was allowed or blocked. You can also view an individual's app activity, how it relates to a student's peers, and a full list of applications visited. Here, you can see the historical data of a user's web rating over time. This can be a really powerful feature if a student's academic performance may have decreased, because the web activity and web rating often tell us more of a story around what a student might be going through in their personal life that could be resulting in lower academic performance or engagement in school. Next, you can access a user's search history as well as the search platform, the videos that have been watched, with also the ability to launch the video and view it for yourself, and lastly, the alerts that they have appeared in over time. I hope you have enjoyed this demonstration, and I trust this has given you an insight on how committed we are to our mission of enabling K-12 schools to ensure the online safety of their students. Feel free to replay this video with your colleagues, and if you're ready to discuss Assure for your school, please reach out via our online forums or send an email to hello@sasian.com.